So I started here by drawing that line down from the equal sign that tells me whatever happens on one side must happen on the other. I'll notice there's a lot of things that have to happen here. So I see parentheses, which are going to tell me that I'm going to have to multiply. I also see that on this other side, I have two like terms. Like terms meaning they both have the variable y. Let's start by dealing with this distributing. So this -2 right next to the parentheses says that I'm going to multiply it times everything on the inside. Something that's going to be important to remember here is that this y has an imaginary 1 in front of it. That y exists once, so there's a 1 there, even if I can't see it. So -2 times 1 will be -2y. Really important I keep that y there. And then I'm also going to do -2 times 6, which will be a -12. I put plus -12. That just helps me see that this negative belongs to 12 so I don't lose it later on. Now let's look at this other side. So as I talked about, I have these two like terms with my y and my 2y. Again, this 1y has an imaginary 1 in front of it. So I'm going to do 1 plus 2y, which gives me 3y. And then this plus 3 is just going to come right down. At this point, I can see that I have -2y on this side, and I have a 3y on this side. My goal is to get all the y's onto one side. I like to deal with the negative term, so I'm going to add 2y. By doing that, -2y plus 2y becomes 0. So I've completed that goal of making sure that y is no longer on that side. I'm going to add it only right below its like term, which had the y as well. So 3 plus 2 is 5y. I'm going to bring down that -12 on the other side. Again, that negative is really important that we bring it down. And then on this side, I'm going to bring down the +3. You might notice at this point, we're right back to a two-step equation. So I'm going to add or subtract the constant that's on the same side of the variable. So the variable's on this side, so I need to move this 3 off of this side. So instead of adding 3, I will subtract 3. That gives me 0. And I will subtract 3 from this side. These are both negative numbers, so I'm at -12. And I have to get more negative. So I'm going 1, 2, 3, this direction. That's also the same as saying what's 12 plus 3? It's 15. Both these numbers were negative, so they must remain negative. On the other side, bring down that 5y. My final step here is to remember that there's an imaginary multiplication happening between 5 and y. To undo multiplication, I divide. So I divide by 5 here, I divide by 5 here. -15 divided by +5 gives me a -3 because it is opposite sides, and that will equal y.